What I would challenge you to do is just sit and think for a second about what do you define success as? Like, what does success look like to you? And what do you want it to look like? Because if you want that good relationship, it's got to start now. They've got to know that you're the man or the woman that they can come to. They've got to know that you're going to listen. What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to Man Minutes. So today we are talking about something that I think is foundationally important, not just to guys, but kind of to everybody. And that is defining what success is. So I think on the surface, it seems kind of trivial. It seems like it's not maybe a super important aspect of things, because I think you hear the word success and you think of this, right? You think of your phone, you think of social media, you think of all the things that you see that you maybe associate with success nowadays. A nice house, a big car, like vacations, traveling, like all these super cool relationships. Like that's what we think about sometimes when we hear the word success. But what I would challenge you to do is just sit and think for a second about what do you define success as? Like, what does success look like to you? And what do you want it to look like? So just think about that for a sec. Like, is that a good marriage? Is that being a good father? Is that your relationship with God? Is it being financially well off? Is it being super rich? Is it serving others? Is it doing something you love? Like, what is success? Because I think what you have to understand is there's a societal idea of what success should look like or what it does currently look like. But you have to understand what success is for you. So for me, if you would have asked me this question a while ago, right? Success in high school was getting good grades and being good at football. Like, that was success for me. To get good grades, have an awesome girlfriend, and play a good game on a Friday night, like that was success. That's what it meant. If I didn't have any catches during that football game on Friday night, it was not a successful game. It wasn't a successful week. It just wasn't successful. If I got B's, I wasn't a success. If I didn't work hard during my workout or as much as I should, it wasn't a success. But now that idea of success for me is completely different. It's completely different. So how do I define success now? First and foremost is my relationship with God, like how I feel about it. Am I reading my Bible? Am I staying in the Word? Am I staying close? Am I trusting Him? For me, that's one of my key factors for success, is me not being able to see everything that's happening and just trusting in God and that He's got my back, and that the path I am on, as long as I am moving, is the correct one. Like, He will point me where I need to go. Next is, how is my marriage? Are Amanda and I really connected? Are things going good? Are we on the same page? Are we moving in the same direction? Or are we completely spread out and we're on way different pages and we're not connecting and there's distance there? Next would be my family. How am I being as a father to my kids? Do I feel connected to them? Am I making them a priority? Am I putting aside time to spend with them individually? Am I present when I'm with them? And then lastly, for me, would become the financial aspects of things. Like, obviously, I want to provide. I want to give my life or my family a better life than what I had. But I'm telling you, like, that's down on the list from where it used to be, for sure. So I think you got to really dive into that question and ask yourself what success is. And also understand that it can change, right? Depending on the season of life you're in, depending on what stage of life you're in, if you're single, if you're newly married, if you're newly becoming a parent, if you're starting a new job, like success is going to look different as you move down the road a little bit. It's going to change. If you start here, if your idea of success at 10 years old is your idea of success at 40, I would say something's probably not incongruent and you're not where you should be. Unless you were way smarter than me when you were 10, which is always a possibility. But what I like to do when we talk about success is just start with the end in mind, right? Like, what do you want it to be? So for me, I'm going to be 100, 120 years old. I'm going to have kids around me. My kids are going to be close to me, my grandkids, my great-grandkids. We're going to be a close, tight family unit, and everyone is going to look to me for different things. Like, I'm going to be the rock of the family that people go to. At the end of the day, at the end of my life, if that is the situation, then I was successful. If my kids want to be around me when they're adults, I was successful. So if I want that, then I have to put those things into place now, and I have to define that, and then I have to figure out steps on how do I get there? How do I become successful, knowing that my idea of success is that? So number one, I got to prioritize the things I want to prioritize. So if success to me is having a good relationship with God, then I have to prioritize that. If success at the end of the day is having a strong relationship with my wife, then I have to prioritize that. A strong relationship with my kids, I have to prioritize those things now. And I have to build on those every day, every week, every month, every year to become successful. One incident, one outcome, one decision does not make you successful or unsuccessful. You've got to work on those things over time to get to where you want to be, to become successful, truly successful. And that's for you to decide what that means for you. And I would imagine it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone does not want to have a good relationship with their family, that someone doesn't want to have a good relationship with their kids, that someone doesn't want to have enough money or enough financial freedom to do the things they want and provide. Like, we all want to have those things. So again, just like, how do you get there? And then what are you doing now that's stopping you from getting there? Are you too busy? Are you unsure of where you should head? Are you indecisive? Are you not putting your time and effort into places that it needs to be? How do you get there? How do you figure it out? What are some things you can do? We'll start out with just kind of like some simple steps. So number one, define what success is to you. You got to define it, and you got to figure out what that means and how you want it to be. Number two is like, how do I make a program or a plan that I can implement from day one through forever to get there? What do I need to do? I need to be available to my wife. When she comes to me with things, I need to be available to her. I need to take her on date nights. I need to prioritize our marriage and our relationship and understand that if I want that to be a forever thing, if I want that to be strong, if I want that to be an example to my kids, I've got to make it that now. And maybe some of you don't. And if you don't, can you change it? Do you want it to be the way it is if you're not happy? I don't think you do. I think you want to change it. So start doing things to do that. Prioritizing your children. When they come to you, talk to them. When they come to you, let them know that they are the most important thing there is at that moment. Don't brush them off. Don't tell them you'll talk to them later about it. Don't tell them you don't have time. Because if you want that good relationship, it's got to start now. They've got to know that you're the man or the woman that they can come to. They've got to know that you're going to listen. they've got to know that they're not an inconvenience to you and not a burden. And trust me, like we're all guilty of it, right? Like there's definitely times where I'm out in the shop, I'm grinding blades, I'm doing other things out here, and someone will come in that door and start talking to me and I am not focused on them. And it's so interesting, especially with the kids, because they can tell right away. Like my kids would just like, if they started talking to me and I was busy and I wasn't giving them my full attention, they would just kind of leave. So now like I make it a point to stop what I'm doing and talk, like engage with them. Because if I'm not going to engage with them now about little things, then I'm not going to be successful later engaging with them on important things. They're not going to come to me then. They're not going to come to me in high school when they're going through a bad time with someone, or they have a bad breakup, or someone does something to them that makes them feel a certain way, or when they're married and they're going through some tough times, or when they're a parent and they're going through some tough times. If I am not available to them now, they're not going to come to me when things are more important. So implementing that. Financial freedom, like I know it's a big thing. I know it's one of the biggest struggles we used to have, is just how do I get to a point where I can make enough money to provide better so that I can do some of the things I want to do, so I can take my family on a good vacation, so I can give them the stuff they need. Maybe it's simple as like buy them some clothes they want for school, buy them a pair of shoes that they've wanted. Maybe it's even like, maybe it's harder. Maybe you're just trying to provide basic necessities. Like how do I get it to where I know that they can have good food, that they're not worried about food, that they're not worried about where we're living, that they're not worried about all those things. And it all goes back to just implementing steps and doing different stuff. A lot of times people won't see where you came from. They'll just see where you're at. Like my wife and I, we do great financially right now. Like things are great. Things are better than I ever thought they would have been in my life. But people just see that, right? They see that we bought the house that we've always wanted. They see that we go on these vacations. They see that we have these businesses. They see those things. But what you didn't see was I was a SWAT cop for the 5th biggest city in the country. And on my days off, we had one car. On my days off, I was riding a bicycle to go coach at a CrossFit gym and leaving my house at like 4:15 in the morning to ride for 30 minutes to this gym to coach to make a little bit extra money. That I would get up before my shift and I would go out in the garage and I would grind blades. There's times when I would get up at 2 in the morning because I knew I had certain things I had to get done. Was it awesome? No. Like, was I tired a lot? Yes. But you have to put the work in now to be successful to where you want to be later. And I'm not saying any of you guys aren't doing that. I'm just saying, like, I know for me, when I initially started getting into business, I had a very skewed idea of what it took to actually be successful. I thought I could go out in the garage for an hour a day, or I could pick up a little bit here or pick up a little bit there and make things successful. Like, that's the farthest thing from the truth. I spend a ton of time on this business. My wife spends a ton of time on her business. We work more in these jobs than we ever did when we worked for someone else. So I think having those realistic expectation of what it takes to get where you want to be and to create your own success with the ability that God gives you is something that you have to look at, is something that you have to pay attention to, is something that you have to put steps in and implement to get there. A lot of times we want change, we want to get to a certain place, and we'll take a few steps and then we fall off, and then we take a few steps and then we fall off again and then we're done. Like, that's not what success looks like. A lot of people want to see like a line graph, and they see a line going straight up, right? That's not success at all. Like, you'll see a little increase, then you'll see dips, and you'll see increases and dips, increases and dips. And your goal is to take enough action to move you towards success. But you're not going to have shortfalls. You're not going to have hardships. You're not going to have problems. You're going to have those things. And I'll just ask too, like, if you don't make the amount of money you want to make, does that make you unsuccessful? if you have a lapse in judgment, if you snap at your kids or snap at your wife, does that make you unsuccessful? I would say no, man. Like, that makes you human. That makes you a guy. That makes you normal. Like, you're all going to do those things. I'm going to continually screw up for the rest of my life. And there's going to be moments when I think I'm not being successful because I'm not in those situations. But like, we have to think long term. What do you want for success? What do you want it to be? And define that. And there's no right or wrong, right? Like, maybe success to you is having like that super nice car and that great house, and you're not worried about getting married. You're not worried about having kids. Like, that is what success is. Like, then go for it. But like, put in the work. Don't just complain about not getting it because you're not doing anything. I have that conversation a lot with guys. Like, they want certain things. Hey, here's some certain things you can do. Like, hey, if you do A, B, and C, and you do that continuously, not for a week, not for a month, not even for a year, like, you do that continuously over a year, the compound effect it has on where you're trying to go, you're gonna get there. But people don't want to sacrifice for that long to get what they want. People want things to come now. People want things to be happening right away. People want immediately return on their investment. Like, that's not success, in my opinion. It's a long game, and there's a lot of stuff you got to do. But I think you got to begin with what you want at the end. Like, what does that look like from here? Or whatever time frame you put on it. Hey, and in 1 year's time, I want to have X, right? I want to have gone on a vacation with my wife. I wanted to have made X amount of money. I wanted to be in this good of shape. I want to have lost weight. I want to be able to perform this lift. I want to be able to run a marathon. Like, whatever that time frame you give yourself is, like, you got to have a plan to get there, to be successful overall and at that event. So you got to put in the work. You got to do those things to get you to where you need to be. And also understand, like, something that I think I had a hard time wrapping my mind around a little bit is, like, 5 out of 7 days doesn't get you there. 5 out of 7 days does not get you to where you need to be. Right? Like, that's not an A grade, 5 out of 7. And I think that's something I struggle with a lot. Like, I'm going to work really hard for these 5 days, and then I'm taking the weekend off because I deserve it. I want to have fun. Like, I'm not going to do those things. I'm not saying you shouldn't do those things. Like, you've got to have some rest in your life. You've got to have some time to regroup, reconnect, and figure things out, and then prepare for what's coming next. But don't fool yourself either that putting in 2 hours a day, 5 days a week is going to get you where you need to be with your side gig or with your side hustle or the business you're trying to build. Because it doesn't work that way. And that took me a long time to figure that out. You can get to a place if you put the time in on the front end, 10, 15, 20 years from now, like, you can get to that place. But I promise you, you won't stop when you get there because it'll be something else. Like, you'll continue to push, you'll continue to make plans, you're going to continue to have new goals and new ideas of what success is. So just keep going forward, keep moving towards that goal. Keep getting to where you want to be, but have a definition and a destination of what success is. Know where you want to go. Know how you want to get there. Know the time and effort and work that you need to put in to get there. But the biggest thing you can do, and one of the most important things I think you can do, is define what success is. What does that look like in your life at this stage? Maybe that is working 15 hours a day and providing everything so your wife can stay home and not have to worry about anything but your children. Maybe success is working less because you've worked a ton and you want to enjoy some things and you want to be around your kids now more than ever because of the stage of life they're at. Maybe that's figuring out that you don't like the job you're in and going after something you've wanted to do for a really long time. But figuring out what success is for you is, I think, the number one thing, because it gives you a destination. It gives you a way to produce a map on how to get somewhere. You want to make 100K in your business. If you want to make 500K in your business, you got to know how you're going to get there, and you have to be able to build that out. If you want a happy marriage, if you want a strong marriage, you got to know how to get there, and you have to build that out. It works the same. Processes that we apply to one area of life are going to apply it to every area of our life to make us successful. So figure out what you want for success, and then start putting a plan, develop a plan, and then take action on that plan. Don't just sit and wait. Don't do nothing, right? Like, no steps are going to get you anywhere. Like, God cannot steer a parked car. I love that statement. You'll probably hear me say it a few more times over the episodes, but I just love that statement. Like, God cannot steer a parked car. If you're not moving, He can't really do anything with you. Get moving. Have an idea of what you think success is. Make a plan and start taking some action on it and get to where you need to be. And it's your idea of success, so know that. So like always, just want to end with a little verse. So this is Proverbs 3, 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. I just think that's super important. Like, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. I knew that. I know that. I know I do that way too often, especially when I'm having ideas of success, and he'll give me little nudges about, like, hey man, that's not where I'm pushing you. I'm redirecting you this way a little bit. So listen to those things, man. Pay attention. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. If you need anything, hit me up. If you're not following us on Instagram, if you're not listening to us on the actual podcast, if you're not watching us on YouTube, go check all those things out. There's all sorts of different platforms that we're on, and you can check us out. And as always, if you guys have questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.